Okay, so we're going to talk today about Leslie Green here. He did that. Came out, so nobody's been through the first one. Came out of the paper industry out of college and decided I better get into commercial printing so I could make some money and have some control over my life. And then went into the big printing company, which I'll tell you more about. And I started my business 18 years ago. So sales coach, business development trainer, wrote a book along the way, TV, radio, all that stuff. Who cares? This is the part I like where I can interact with people and hang out. I did do a big webinar series for you, and I don't know how many of you got on that, but okay. I'm smiling now. All right, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Enough about me. Presentations can be anything from handing your business card to someone and doing a full-blown presentation like this one. Anything in between, in my mind, is a presentation. So we're going to use that word today in many different contexts. So don't get confused when I use presentation 20,000 times. All right? So let's get going on here. Okay. I use this on all my slides, 2 ways to grow your business. This is not rocket science. This is just what you want to think about as you build your business plan and your sales plan. More business from existing customers and new customers. We should be doing both of these at the same time, all the time. How do I find new customers? How do I grow existing customers to get them to buy more things from me? Buy more stuff, more solutions. Okay? We get caught up in the business we have and we're excited about the 3 or 4 projects they give us, and then we don't think about other departments, other buyers, how we can expand the spend they give us. So we have to be always thinking about what else would they buy from me? How can I get them to spend more money with me, kick the competition out, and give me more market share? So it needs to be a thoughtful plan and a strategy about how to do that. Well, a picture from the back is definitely not going to be good. Jeez, I mean, I know my hair looks good in the back, but please. All right.
Sideways in this direction, I got the crowd behind you. So look at these folks up here and smile.
At them or at you? All right. Okay. So I'm a hair flipper too.
You guys thought this just happened naturally.
No, yeah. And we've been talking about it for 2 hours. Yeah. Oh, I did. She told me she didn't like the green. I'm like, whatever. No, and I changed from this morning. She didn't like polka dots. And she says, I did. I 3. And she says, I'm in Orange County. I'm like, so you don't like any of my clothes? And then she says, I close my eyes too much and I'm too serious. And it's like, whatever. And I don't like the color. I'm like, well, great. How's that for you? So I changed, that's all I got though. Should I? No, I wear. It's very funny. I said, should I put the polka dot? She goes, no. I'm like, all right. And then she said, I think you can carry off the polka dots, but probably not. I'm like, whatever. Anyway, it's pretty funny. So I thought it was cute. But that's what I want, the truth, so I look really good. Okay, so let's talk about attrition. And this is in all my stuff, too, about losing customers. Why do they go away? What do we do about it? Is it our fault or not? Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's neither. They move away, they merge, they get bought out, they die away, and we have to figure out how to replace the revenue. So I was at a seminar, and I'm trying to mix my stories up. Because Ryan said, I told all the same stories, and I said, somebody already said that to me, that he told the same stories. Anyway, I'm mixing my stories up. I had a guy that had a digital printing company, a small digital company, and they were doing about $1 million a year, and then the revenue went down, and he finally checked with the client, and 6 months later, they moved it all to New York. He heard it. He saw it, but he didn't do anything about it. So the reason we want to check on attrition is because customers are going to go away, and it's not our fault we want to replace the business. I was doing a seminar in another market, and the guy said, why are you always talking about revenue growth? Like, well, because if we're not growing, we're shrinking? Well, I'm happy with my customers. I said, okay, whatever. So I said, but most of us want to add revenue, top line, bottom line, excuse me, so we can, maximize our opportunities. So that's why we're talking about revenue growth, people, because attrition happens, we want to replace it and grow past it. Okay, so feel free to ask questions if you have any besides my hair and my wardrobe changes. Come on. I think my battery died.
Oh, no, you got to do it, man.
There we go. All right, this is also in my other session. We need to be doing these 3 things at the same time. And I understand the sessions about presentations, but this factors into where am I selling, who am I selling to, and what does the presentation look like. We should always be doing these 3 things at the same time. Winning back lost customers. If you're brand new at sales, you don't have any to win back, so that little piece of pie goes to almost nothing. If you're an experienced rep, you are spending time growing existing, and you are also spending time looking for new opportunities. So we need to be doing this all the time at the same time. Because we want to expand the reach we have with an existing client, we want to find new opportunities, and we want to win back lost customers. Okay? And this pie chart changes depending on the shape of it, on what your business is, what your mix is, how many customers you have, how much revenue you're currently doing. So, okay? So there's no one answer here. This is an example. So I have people say, what should my pie chart be? Depends on how much business you currently have. All right? Here we go. Okay, so let's talk about the different kinds of presentations one could do. So there's lots of different ways you can build a presentation, and you could call it. It could be a meet and greet. It could be in the lobby. It could be handing your card out. It could be at a networking event. It could be lunch, where you're going to come in and do a lunch. I like bringing lunch in. I call it a mini trade show, where you ask somebody for a conference room, you bring food in, you have your products there, you have your banners up, you have stuff on the ground, your floor graphics, and you have an internal trade show. Really low pressure. People come out of their office to eat, and it's a great way to build relationships and have a presentation, but it's not really a presentation. It's more of a checking, hanging out with people, and showing them what you do. It's a great low-key way. And it could be a lunch and learn too. Maybe you want to have a seminar on the environmental impact, recyclable things, different substrates, what fades in the sun, what doesn't, why you want to use foam core instead of gator board. You know, a lot of people don't know stuff about that. And a team of buyers might want to learn that. So a lunch and learn is a great way also to build relationships without selling. Pretty subtle. It can also be a lobby meeting. You know, where you're in the lobby and you're lucky to get 2 minutes. That becomes a presentation. And it can go really badly if you're not prepared. You have to have your business card. One guy actually doesn't have any cards today. My new friend Chris didn't have any business cards. I know. He said he'd email me. I'm like, right, you want to hand your card, but you want to give your business card. Sorry. So make sure you're prepared to have your card ready. If you're going to meet in the lobby, what are you going to do? What does that look like? Not much. Because you're standing there. You know, I've come out, and you see people, and they come out to meet you, and they never sit down. So you have to stand there and do a presentation. It can get pretty bad, meaning uncomfortable and awkward, because they never call you in to a conference room or their desk. Well, thanks for coming in to see me, Rachel. What do you need? And you'd stand there and figure, okay, now what am I going to do? You got to be ready. So if you don't have an appointment and you don't know what it looks like, meaning is it a sit-down boardroom or a stand, you got to be ready for anything, because you don't know. And you want to be prepared and look like you have a clue even when you're caught off guard. Okay? Could be a boardroom presentation where you have to do slides in a big presentation. And you need to be prepared to do that. Maybe not today, but at some point, because you need to maybe bring the team in and do a presentation for a big client. It's a big contract. You know, it could be a big client out here or wherever you're from that you're trying to get. Could be Boeing, could be Qualcomm. There's lots of places where they're going to put you on a vendor list, and you're going to compete against 3 or 4 people, and you want to be chosen, and you got to present, and it's got to be snappy. It doesn't have to be this kind where you're running a room, but you have to be thoughtful about what's my message, who am I giving it to, what's my goal and objective, am I in charge of the meeting? Sometimes clients are, and they take over. How do I get it back? When I get back in the car, what do I want to have accomplished? You've got to have a goal and objective, or you're wasting time. Even if you have a sit down with a client, a prospect, and you get in the car, I want you to be able to tell me, this is what I got out of it. I asked for next steps. I closed. I moved the ball. I found out what I need to do next. Doing presentations, sitting in somebody's office is nothing if you don't turn it into something else. Had a really good meeting. Well, what'd you get? What do you mean? Had a good meeting. What's the next step? I don't know. I didn't ask. They were nice. They said they'd get back to me. That is not a good answer. So when you have a meeting, what's the point of the meeting? To build the brand, build the relationship, and get a next step. Whether you're in the lobby or in the boardroom or in the coffee shop. Where do I go next? How do I move the ball? How do I take it from this part in the relationship to the next part? Okay? So you've got to be thoughtful before you go. It'll be one-on-one meeting, in-person demo. Go to the website. You have such great case studies. Find some case study with an install in it that's really snappy, that relates to that prospect. It's got to be relevant to that vertical. A hospital, I mean, unless it's the specific product, a hospital doesn't really want to see a makeup line store. So it's got to be relevant to the customer and why they buy, what their objectives are for their customers. How do they get customers? How are they looking for customers? Okay, and webinars are fine. I don't like them because I do them because I don't know. I can't make eye contact. I can't see the people. I don't know what they're doing. I can't tell if they're paying attention. I don't know who's in the room, and we mute. So I do it versus not do it because it's a step. But I'd rather have it in person any day of the year, and maybe at least a go-to-meeting so you can see the people, or a WebEx so you can see each other. People buy from people they like and trust, and they need to. Okay, tell me your name again. Aurora? Yes. Oh, I never knew that. Wow, I never would have forgot Aurora. Like the wind. Oh, that's Mariah. I love. Oh, okay. You are the morning light over there, girlfriend. I know. So where do you live now? Oh, that's a good city too, though, huh? San Francisco's really fun. Weather's a lot different than San Diego, though. Yes. Yeah. It's much colder, huh? Cooler. Yeah.
It's actually tolerable.
What?
Come on out to Minnesota. You'll go.
Oh, heck no. No, I'm fine. In Southern California, I'm good. Where it's, a hot day, it was like 80 degrees the other day. I thought I was going to die. So, yeah, we're pretty, Anyway. But what you want to be able to do is figure out what's the right application for this part of the sales cycle with this prospect or client. What am I trying to accomplish? You have to have a goal, an objective, and a plan. Are you guys laughing about me over there? All right. I can take it. Okay. So, 2 secrets to making good presentations. Preparation, practice. Preparation, practice. Preparation, practice. Did you get it? Practice. And people say, why do I have to practice? Because you're not used to it. Huh? That's right. It's true. Yeah. It's my class. Okay. Just, yeah. Don't try to add stuff. Okay. I'm saying. So let's see. What's your name? Now he's not going to tell me his name. Miguel. Oh, he's even going to tell me his name. So yeah, don't be like making stuff up for me. Go to Ryan's class. And Ryan's done. That's right. They edit all my jokes out, I guess. So I guess I can say. Can I say whatever I want then? No, I can't. He's not even listening. But you have to be ready to, what am I going to do? How am I going to practice? If I'm taking other people with me, what's their role? What's their point? Don't ever, please, take somebody to a meeting that doesn't have a role. A part, not a sandwich roll, a role. I do a lot of sales meetings for clients, and some paper people came in, and one guy just sat there, and it just makes me crazy. So of course I say, well, what are you doing here today? Oh, I'm just sitting here. I said, so what's your role? Well, I don't really have one. I said, because I went on, because these salespeople know exactly where I'm headed, and this guy's like, duh. I said, so what's your contribution? Oh, I'm just sitting here. Hello? So don't do that. Don't drag somebody with you if they don't have a purpose. And if you want to drag somebody, give them a purpose. All right, let them have a little segment to talk about. There's no point in taking somebody if they don't contribute, is where I'm headed, if you hadn't figured it out. Okay, here's the 2 common mistakes salespeople make. They ask the person they're with questions about their business that they should already know. Do your homework. Don't come in and meet with an executive and ask them how they run their business and what they're working on. You should know that. If you didn't get it from the RFQ or the quote or the tour or your recon information and your secret spy, ask somebody else before you go in there, because you need to know about their business so you can have an appropriate presentation to offer. You're not there to fact find. You're there to deliver a solution or an idea or a concept that helps them. And if you don't know what that is, don't go. It's okay to ask questions, but not as if you know nothing. Okay? Or you talk too much about yourself and you don't talk enough about them. It's interesting to give information, but it needs to be thoughtful and limited. You really want to have them talk more. The more they talk, the more you learn, the better they like it. All right? Each account needs its own sales cycle, and you have your road signs of your selling cycle, which is really good. And each account needs to have its own plan. What am I going to do here? What am I doing here? Why? This person's friendly. This person's a little cooler. They want business. It's all business. This is more fun. Each one has its own specific plan, and you need to be really thoughtful about which one relates to which one. Okay? And it is not the same. We were talking in the first session about email, and one gal said she really likes to go in person. So I don't have a problem with that if you have a plan. And I like an email if it's part of a sales cycle. I'm okay with a handwritten letter or a typed letter with a stamp. People open it. What's your plan? What's your sales strategy? And each account needs one. And in that, included in that, are many different kinds of presentations. It could just be a presentation on the phone where people say, what do you guys do there? What kind of equipment do you have? And that turns into a phone presentation, because she then, who sells on the phone, has to talk about all the stuff the company does and how we can help the customer that called in. So you need to be ready to talk about features, benefits. Features are the equipment. Benefits are what the equipment does for the customer. They don't care about your image setter and your large format machine. They care about what size it is, what substrate it works on, how many colors, and what the turnaround is. They only care about what's in it for them, not what's in it, what the equipment is. So you have to be able to differentiate feature and benefit, okay? So this is your selling solution. And in between here, I think you can make these out of order a little bit, because sometimes you might be at the lobby because you want to check it out and you can't get anybody to pick up the phone, so you do a drive-by. You meet the receptionist, who's friendly or not, gives you a name. Yeah, I know. Gives you a name, gives you a business card maybe, and then you do an approach planning meeting with yourself, and then maybe you figure out if you can get somebody on the phone to give you a meeting. So they could go out of order depending on how much information you have and how you want to present yourself. I don't think you can ever you could perhaps do resolving objections before the presentation, but you would have had to have information like a phone call where they presented you with some objections. And you could circle back and do the presentation after. You could do the meeting in reference to the objections they've thrown at you. So this is really good. I just want you to thoughtfully use it in terms of order and where you are with the prospect. Sorry. Okay? And then again, the close can be 10 things. The close can be the lobby to an in-person meeting. The close can be an in-person meeting to an RFQ. The close can be an RFQ to the first job. A close can be a quote to a project. A close can be one project to the second project. All those situations are an opportunity to close the client to the next step. So you should always be closing. And closing means, what's our next step? Thanks for your time. When will we hear back from you? Really appreciate the information I got from you in the lobby this morning. I'd like to come back with my associate and do a presentation. When's a good time? Those are all closing, open-ended questions. Thanks so much for the quote. When do you expect to have an answer? We'd really like to work together. How does it look? What's my next step? All closing statements, because you're trying to learn from this prospect where you stand and what to do next. And if you don't ask the question, you get back in the car and you think you did a good job, but you didn't learn anything. Where do I go from here? I think this is a really good fit, Mr. Customer. We'd really like to take it to the next step. What do you envision the next step being? How would I proceed from here? When can I expect to hear from you? I'd like to have you come in and look at the center. When can you come? Open-ended. I don't need to see your center. I've been to 10 of them. All the equipment's the same, but I want to know your pricing. Fine. But you've got to put it out there to see what you get back. Okay? So use this a lot, but feel free to mix up the order. Okay? Features and benefits. What is your technological skill level? What's the team? What are the people at the center? Are they very technically oriented? Can they get you out of trouble? Can they present? Because that becomes a presentation if it's interesting to a buyer. How do we actually make your product? How do we match one banner to a floor graphic to a pull-up banner? How do we match those colors? Let me bring my team out and we'll tell you. I can show you how we can make it last in the window when the sun's on it. That's a technical skill set. You have to be able to communicate benefits, features, benefits. Equipment mix. Does anybody care? Maybe, maybe not. They only care what it does for them. You have to be able to articulate what you can do for them with the equipment mix you have. Okay? And some people still want to look at equipment lists. That's fine. But you have to be able to communicate to somebody what that equipment does for them. Because it's all the same. Nothing special there. Really. I know you think you're special. Love you. All right. Credibility. Your brand has a lot of credibility, which is great. And when you talk about that, people know who you are. I work with a lot of small little companies and nobody's ever heard of them. So you have a really good brand, which gives you credibility. I was meeting with Arlene here, who said she was going to come to the session too.
Yeah.
Oh, is that her book? I am so hurt. She said, I'm going to stay. And where is she? Probably sitting with Ryan. I just made that up. I know. She's probably out there having an adult beverage. Anyway, it's probably too early for that. But what you have to be able to figure out is, does the credibility help you? She's been in the business a month. So I don't think that is something you talk about. You say, this center's been here for 4 years, and I'm on the sales team. You don't have to say, I've been here 3 weeks. So you have to be able to establish your own personal credibility. The company has quite a bit. There are people who haven't heard of it, haven't heard of Fast Signs, don't know anything about it, and you got work cut out. You just have to tell them. We're international, we're 500 franchises, blah, blah, blah. You got a lot of value proposition there. It's all good. But you want to establish credibility because they want to know they can trust when they give you a project, it'll be done right. Because they have to trust you will come through for them because their butts are on the line. Okay, strong team. Is it a strong team? It needs to look like a strong team. It's all about perception. The perception needs to be there's people there, a lot of people that can help them. You don't say, yeah, we have one production guy. We have a production team, an estimating team, an owner, and a sales. You don't have to say, you're not lying. You just don't say. Because a lot of people, and I'm all about small business because I are one, but when they think you have one person there, they're like, oh, because there's no backup. So don't say anything. I would not market that. I don't know what they're telling you next door, at Ryan's class, but I'd be, because it's about perception. And I met him and you're like, no big deal. Anyway, but you got to think about, are they going to edit that one out, that last thing I just said? Good. Yeah, no, that whole thing, I'm going to get in trouble now. I'm probably going to get written up for bad-mouthing people. Just him. But you have to be able to demonstrate a strong team. Because if it isn't, don't take anybody out. And if it is, help them be strong. Because I work with a lot of manufacturing people, and they don't often know anything about presenting to clients. They're good working in the center, and they're good with the proofing and all that. But when you get them in front of a client, they're like, they don't know what to say, and what they say is wrong. They talk too much about stuff, and so really guide them. And then, are you creative? Do you have creative ideas for your clients? This is where you have to provide solutions. You want to give them something they haven't thought of, or a way to get to what they want in terms of visuals that they haven't thought about. Strategic thinkers. What's your plan? What's your strategy for the company? My other friend, Chris, who has some clients that are industrial builders, and you think about that in terms of visual signage, there's a lot of ways you could do that. So I bet you he has a lot of ideas for those kind of customers on how to best visually market the building, because they're looking for tenants, right? I mean, why else would somebody put their name on a building? What's their objective? To get people, brand recognition, right? And to get people to rent there, lease, rent, whatever. So they're trying to attract people to come and look at the design center, the sales office, or whatever, the leasing office. So they want people to see it when they drive by. So it's got to be something you see and say, oh, I'm going to go in there. So he probably has ideas, because that's his vertical, about how he could be more creative around that than the other salesmen. So it gives him a leg up when he's making sales calls, because he can say, in the building down the street, I helped them with blah, 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 blah. And I can help you too. And we had a really good success rate of having people come in and lease the building because of how great the signage was. That is strategic and creative at the same time. So you have to use your features and benefits in your brain and communicate that to the client. And that's up to you, okay? All right. Doing your homework. How do you look up clients and what's going on in their world? What are they opening a new office? Do they have a new product? How many locations do they have? Have they had a turnover in their executive team? Have they purchased someone? Have they done a mergers acquisition? More you know about your clients, the better you can build your plan, presentation, and the more they'll know you care about their business. So again, we're doing presentations. How can I impress upon a client that I understand their market, their vertical? So when I was doing car books, I knew they cared about the rims, the wheels, and the interiors, because they didn't want them green, they wanted them taupe, and so they're very particular about what these cars look like, and I knew the jargon, so I could sound like an expert. But you need to look up your clients and prospects and find out what you can, which is back to that sales cycle, the pre-call research. What can I learn about them that makes me sound really smart when I reach out? Well, I understand you just opened an office in Dallas. That's great. I can deliver there. We can deliver around the country. I can help you. We're in 47 states, and we've got a really big brand. Blah, blah, blah. So you need to understand what they're working on, what their market research is, where they're headed, and what's going on in their business. The more you know about them, the more credibility you have that you understand their market. And if you don't, read it and fake it, because you need to be credible with these sales calls. Okay? And you can't do a presentation and say, I really didn't look your company up. What do you got? You can't do that. You have to know enough to talk the talk. You don't have to know everything, because there's stuff that you're never going to learn because it's behind the scenes. But you need to know what they're working on. Okay? All right. And these are just ideas of where to find it, where to look up information about the prospects you're working on or the customers you want to cross and upsell to, what else they're working on. So you're educated. Okay? Hello? What is in it for me is the motto of the day. And that means what's in it for them. That's all they care about, is what's in it for them. They don't care about you. They probably care about me, but they don't care about you. They don't care about your equipment, and they don't care about your location. What's in it for them? Do they need to come and look at a press check? They might care where you're located. What can you do for me? What idea do you have for me? And you need to have an idea. How many people do you reach out to that say, man, I've been waiting to do a big campaign in a trade show booth, and I waited for your call and I haven't done it yet. I've got my needs met and I'm happy with my vendors. Get in line, right? So you have to be prepared to give them a snappy idea or solution to open the door to get somebody's attention. So they'll engage with you and you can prove yourself. All right? What's in it for them? For them to give you 10 minutes. And what are you going to say on the phone? We do a really good job. We do signs and banners. We're not just fast, and we're not just signs, but we're really good. A customer wants to know, what are you going to do for me?
You can give like a good value proposition. Like you call on something that shows, hey, we help someone increase the traffic at their booth by 20%. Would that be, would you be interested in finding out how we did that?
And they can edit that part out too. I can't believe he's absolutely right, though, which really bugs me more than anything is he's right. What can you say? I know, it really bugs me. What can you say that demonstrates the value you bring to the account? What's in it for them that they should give you 10 minutes? You have to have some idea, some case study, some story. Why should they give you 10 minutes? Because they're busy. They don't need you. You got to have something. So that's why you have to do research and then think in your head, what's in it for them to talk to me? Because they're thinking the whole time, God, what's in it for me to talk to this another sales rep? Okay? You got to have something snappy. A value proposition, if you will. Thanks for the help. And it's good now because I'm almost done that I can use that in other sessions. I really appreciate it. That's good. I would never have said that on my own, so I never heard the value proposition thing. Anyway, am I being too hard? Oh, look, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. You're the one that's like, I'm going to chime in. Okay, whatever. And then, okay, so we're doing a presentation. We actually got a meeting. We know we have a plan. We're going to meet somebody. We're going to meet somebody else. What you want to do, identify the target. Obviously, who am I going to talk to? Who do I want to get a meeting with? Why should you do a presentation? It depends on what your objectives and goals are. If it's a meet and greet in the lobby, you have to be prepared to move to the next step. And my next step for that would be an in-person meeting behind somebody's desk where you're going over a case study. Could be a good next step. Okay, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate your time. We'll get back to you. Well, I'd like to bring a case study in about blah, 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 which we just talked about, which creates a value proposition, so I can tell you about how we can help you. And that turns into, can I have 10 minutes? And that turns into a quote, an RFQ. So you move the ball down the field with different things. But you have to be clear, identify the target, research, select a team. You go by yourself. You bring your owner. In this case, you don't. I'm just saying. No. I know, really. But, he's clearly got some people skills, because I could tell when he walked in. So you take him. No, you do. But some owners don't. And you have to decide, unless the owner says, we're going on a call, and drags themselves there, what's the value of having that person there? And don't let an owner browbeat you into taking them unless, you're in trouble and you have to do it. Because they don't always help. If the client really likes you, we don't need the owner there because they want you, not the owner. So I'm just saying, and owners sometimes take over and you become the second wheel. And if you can't tell the owner, be quiet now, then, it undermines your credibility as a sales rep. Just be careful. I'm not saying owners aren't great on calls. Just be thorough and thoughtful about it before you do it, okay? Discussion of solutions. What are you presenting? What are you bringing to this client that's interesting in terms of a value proposition? How can I help this business? You need to know, is it a loyalty campaign? Is it visual branding? Do they have a new ice cream flavor coming out? Do they have 47 locations that need banners at all locations and a brochure? What are you helping them with? And that needs to be part of your solution. And we have to choose roles. If we're going to have more than one person, what are people doing? Really specific. You're doing introductions, you're doing the meeting, and you're doing the thank yous. And we're done. And everybody has a defined role, so it looks really clean. All right? And then what's my timeline? How long am I doing? 10 minutes? I was doing it wasn't big. It was 3 people in a room at a big, a science center thing. And the guy, after 45 minutes, the CFO stood up and said, thanks for coming in today. And I'm like, oh, shoot. And because he was done. And he said, I got another meeting. I got to go. And I said, I better close right now. And I said, thank you. What's our next step? He was already up and halfway out the door, and he turned around and said, give me a proposal. I said, great, thank you. Because I knew I wasn't going to get to ask the question again. So you got to be ready with what's my goal. My goal is to get to the next step, and I have to ask for it. Where do we go from here? Thanks for your time. You said some things about some substrates. We're going to bring some new things in. I want to show you some new products we have. How's next week? You got to close it for the next step. You can't assume they're going to help you. Okay? All right. Okay, body language. I know it sounds really obvious, but it's not. We have to be really clear on the handshake. We have to make eye contact. We have to stand up straight. You have to practice your body language when you sit down, because like tapping your pen, girlfriend, you're killing me over here. He was tapping them here. So, how do you want to sit behind the desk? These chairs are really squishy. But you know what? You don't know what chair you're going to get either. So I never sit at the head of the table. I always let whoever is the self-determined power player sit at the head of the table. I never do that because I don't want anybody to think I'm in charge. I am, but I don't want him to think it. So you should always have your hands on your lap or on the table. You want to be really clean with where they're moving around and stuff, because it's not this kind of presentation. It's a business presentation where you have a specific agenda. You should not have a pen in your hand where you're making noise. And what happens is you don't know you're doing it. I watched my first videos and I was flipping my hair. I thought, oh my God, and I do it again. So you have to really think about, what am I doing that's distracting from my objective, and don't do that. But you have to practice it. Like he's bouncing his knee over here, which is fine for me. But if I'm your client and it bugged me, that would be irritating. Because I'm not going to say it, because he's not doing it now because I said something. But when you're in my audience, I won't do anything. But if you're the client, that's really distracting to me. So you don't know what bugs them. So you have to be really clean with what you're doing so that you don't minimize your opportunity, because you don't know. Posture's important. You should sit up towards the table without being overly excited. If you can mirror their body language, if they're sitting back like this, I'd sit back like that. If they move in, I'd move in, because you want them to feel like you understand them. And it sounds really stupid, but body language is a huge part of selling, as is listening. So the more we can mimic them, unless they're weird, the better, because they'll feel like you're doing what they're doing. I know clients are weird. We love clients though. And you know, you have to, so think about the body language when you're with other people and what you react to, and don't do it because everybody else has a button and you'll find out. So take notes. I'm okay with notes, but what happens when you take notes? You lose eye contact, and so you miss what somebody says. So, make a few notes, but, I've seen reps that are writing a book. I'm like, come on, you got to stay with the client because you're trying to build a relationship or extend a relationship or enhance one, and you can't do it taking notes. We're not... those people in courtrooms. What are those people? We're not that. We're selling. We're building a relationship. Okay? So do a good handshake. Don't sit at the head of the table. Mirror their body language if you can. Always look like you're listening even if you're not. And I have a whole class on body language, which is really interesting to me. Because we do so many things we don't even know we're doing it. Like that photographer said, I close my eyes all the time. I had no idea. That I don't like people that do that and talk to you like this. Now I have to really, because I don't think I do it, but she said I did, so she's probably wrong. Anyway, right? I know I flip my hair because I've caught myself doing that before. And I've seen that, but I haven't seen my eyes close a lot. So also, before this presentation, what's your goal? What's your objective? What are you trying to get in the car and say, that was great, we did it? Or we didn't do it and we learned. What do we learn? Always think, and I think one mistake salespeople make is they don't ask enough questions. I had a great meeting, and they really liked me, and I drove back to the office. Well, what'd you learn? Well, I had a good meeting. Okay, what's my next step? I don't know. I didn't ask. How do you get work? I don't know. How are you positioned there? I don't know. Ask more questions. And you can do it in a nice way that isn't offensive. Thanks for having us in today. What's our next step? Great. When should we follow up? We'd like to show you our facility. How does that sound? How do you make decisions on who you buy from? Well, what do you mean? Well, there's criteria. There's price, quality, trust. How do you decide? We'd like to know how we can fit in. How do you make decisions? If you ask in the right tone, there's nothing wrong. They may not answer you. But if you can figure out how they decide, then you can figure out what to do. It's price and quality and trust. Okay, I'll be really competitive. Let me have a small job to start. And I can prove my credibility because until you try me, you're not going to know. And I will come through for you. But you have to know how they decide. If we always buy low bid, is that the kind of customer you want? Maybe. Well, maybe. Okay, let me ask you this. Mr. Smarty Pants over there. What if... Could you please bring me a water too? Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so let's say... where's your marketplace?
It's all over the place, but like facilities, guys.
What state? What region?
In Mass.
Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Okay. So is oh Mike, this is really bad. What big colleges? Oh, you're the best. Thanks, girlfriend. Carrie. Harvard. Let's go with. I was going to say Harvard, but I thought I was going to sound even more stupid than I do. Anyway, did you know where Harvard was? No. Whatever. I'm leaving here in about 10 minutes. You could take over. Okay, so let's say we're talking about Harvard. Okay. And they buy $3 million a year in print. Marketing, print, banners, athletic signs. What are they, the Harvard? They're probably some stupid name, huh? What's their name? What's their name, though? Huh? The Bees? Anyway, no, but you know how people like... Pepperdine has the Waves. I mean, who has a name?
That's what I was going to say, Crimson.
Okay, so it's kind of a cool name. They have a decent brand. So let's say there's a bunch of banners and stuff there, and they have recruiting things. So they have a lot of banners. They probably have a lot of trade show booths for that recruiting, and they spend $3 million in a budget, and $500,000 of that you could produce. And they say to you, "We're going to pick 3 printers." And we're going to give you a third of the business, but you have to be competitive. And within these 3 printers, which are direct competitors, which are good, fair competitors, you have to be competitive. I'd be all over that business. Because I'd get a third, they'd tell me what the pricing needs to be, and I'd be low on a third of the time.
Well, if they tell you what the price needs to be, that's a different story. If they're just going to pick a little bit and not care.
I agree. Here's my point. I'm saying if they'll help you If the relationship there will help you get around being low bid, then I'll do it. Yeah, but you didn't say that. I know. I'm kidding you. Trying to keep you awake over there, Brendan. I know. But see, I think low bid is not good unless you know how to play. And then I'm all over it. No? Yeah. Okay. So the objective might be to find out that we buy low bid, but we'll help you because we'll give you, 4 old bids and tell you what the pricing is. No? What does that mean?
I was just saying, well, but it's not good.
But sometimes it's what you have to do to get in. And it's what you have to do to play, and then you can find out how to navigate around it. I used to have to be low bid at Pepperdine, and I was working in a really expensive, the biggest printer in the country, whatever. And she says you have to be low bid, so I said, fine, I'm going to do it one time. My boss let me do it one time. And then I found out she'd give me all her alteration money and all her upcharge money, so I could make money at it. But I didn't know how to play till I got in. So I'm okay low bid to get in to figure out how to navigate around it. Because I don't want to give it away, but I'll do it if it's a means to an end. Is that fair? That's okay? She's giving me a half nod.
Well, it helps you find out if there's other objections, right? So if you say, oh, price is anything, all right, I'm the lowest price now.
You know what's fun is for me when...
Is that everything from there are going to be a low bid.
Well, but that's right, but you don't know, Carrie, till you try. And my point is, if you get in and then you can decide, I don't want to do it because they're low bid all the time, but then you can find out, okay, I'll help you sometimes, and I'll write the specs so you're more competitive because I'm going to tweak the specs so it makes more sense for you. I really like it when people get chastised and then they do it again. You're great. Do you have what else? Come on. You just let me know. You just chime in whenever you want. Oh, wait. Oh, you're going to. That's right. So again, preparation is the key. Pre-planning is the key. And practicing sounds kind of stupid, but if you're taking people that have never been in a presentation before, it is not stupid. What's the dress rehearsal? What are you going to wear? How are we going to position ourselves? How many are we doing leave behinds? Oh, that's my next slide, I think. Are we doing leave behinds? Once you have information out, people start reading it. So you've got to decide if you want to do leave behinds after, if you want to have handouts during the presentation, because they go down and they read it. And they go ahead and they cheat and they look ahead of stuff. Which I'm okay with. If you're okay with it, you have to decide what you want to do. In this environment, I want you to have a handout so you can make notes because we're sharing ideas. We're educating each other. I'm not presenting my business to you because I already got hired pretty much. So we are going over ideas and I want you to make notes. But if you're presenting to 3 people and it's a marketing manager and a purchasing agent and the owner of the company, do you want them reading while you're talking? You have to decide. And don't take too many samples because it really gets distracting on your point. Because they look through those too. And then you've lost them altogether. So I'd be just really thoughtful about, is it a leave behind or not? Or is it a presentation tool? So be really, because everybody wants to take something with them. And I get that. But maybe you do it after. You leave it as an exit piece. A leave behind, as it's called. I like to ask people, I'm going to bring some material with me. How many copies should I bring? And then you'll find out if there's 3 people in the meeting or 1 or 9. Because sometimes they won't tell you and you get there and you're like, oh, no, there's all these people here. So how many sets should I bring? And see what they say. And always bring an extra one. Because you never know. Always be ready with your electronic equipment. I always bring my computer because these people, you guys, Fast Signs is super buttoned up. But I work with clients who aren't, and the equipment doesn't work. They don't have my sessions loaded right. And so I always bring my own computer and my own cords and my own internet connection because I want to make sure I can present what I'm hired to do. So always bring a backup if you're going to do an online demo or you're going to do a slideshow. Bring a thumb drive so you have a backup because you never know. And you don't want to get one guy who was doing a live demo and he couldn't get an internet connection and he had nothing to present. Nothing. Awkward. And he wasn't prepared. So don't do that. And then when you do the PowerPoint, they'll look at the screen. And I'm okay with PowerPoint if it's the right context. But you can present a lot about your company without PowerPoint. You should be able to go do a presentation with nothing in your hand. So, and I like the PowerPoint because it gives me reminders. But you should be able to go into a meeting with 4 people and not have a thing on the desk. Which is, it's a whole nother level of presenting because you got to be really buttoned up about it. You want to go? Come on, bring it up here. Let's do it. You do a presentation with no notes, and let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, you. Yeah, I am so looking at you. No? Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. So, again, what's my objective? What's the appropriate meeting format? Casual, professional, really buttoned up, really low-key. It's up to you, but you're trying to read the crowd, the audience, the customer of 1 or 4 people. What's going to work here? What do they want from me so that I can most effectively reach them and build a relationship? How do you open? What do you start with? You like to review the agenda? You like the customer to talk first? Yes, you want the customer to talk first because they want to talk. Customers want to talk about themselves. As much as you want to talk about you, they want to talk about them. And how do you close? What is the closing plan? Thank you for coming in today. Thank you for your time. And they'll get up and you walk to your car and you're like nowhere. So the biggest point I'm trying to make today, other than he's not the presenter, I am, is that you have to be able to move the ball. Every step you take in sales, you have to move the ball down the field. And part of it could be a presentation. This presentation could be 6 parts of the sales cycle. But if you haven't moved the ball and all you did was talk about your company, you haven't learned enough. Okay? We're trying to learn, how do I get them to buy from me? And there's lots of different ways to do that. Objections, buying criteria, a presentation, samples, meet and greet, pricing, location, quality, credibility. There's a bunch of components to it. We're trying to figure out how to get people to give us money for what we sell, whatever it is. And I work in a lot of industries, and this is my favorite, but I work with accountants and people that sell stuff out of a warehouse, which is so dry. Like people that sell to hotels, that do like hotel services, like toilet paper and irons, and they're the nicest salespeople. And I thought I would just die. And bathrobes and blankets and towels, that's what they sell off a shelf. And they like it. I like it. It's good. But you know what? How do I get somebody to... And a lot of people have the same kind of towels. So how do you differentiate yourself when you're selling ironing boards? At least we have some unique solutions to sell, right? And cool quality samples. So I work in a lot of industries, and it's all about finding somebody to buy your thing. Your banner, your program, your tax audit thing. It doesn't matter. That's what we're trying to do. And a presentation sometimes can be a really important part of that. And sometimes you never have to do it. You do a phone call and a quote and you get a job. Fine. And you go by and do a 10-minute meeting, which is a presentation, and you get a quote and you get a job. And then you turn that into a good relationship and it becomes a $50,000 client. There's lots of ways to get there. I'm just trying to help you with another one more skill set that includes lots of things. Did you guys watch the news this morning when they saved that little puppy? Watch the news tonight. A little puppy got stuck in a storm drain. A little baby puppy. Like 9 hours. And it's those kind that make that little screamy noise. And they saved this puppy, and the mommy dog carried the puppy back. Anyway. So I don't know what that has to do with anything. You got a puppy story? You got nothing over there, do you? Okay. Here's I did it. It connected to me, but it's gone. Anyway. I don't know. Introduction. Why is everybody there? You need to be in charge of the meeting. You are in charge of the meeting. You're in charge of the project. You're in charge of the relationship. You're in charge of all of it, customer facing. All of it. And if you don't think you are, then we could talk about that, because I know there's another way to say it. But we are in charge of the whole thing. The customer can leave or stay because of us, or because we mismanage our team back at the center. They can leave or quit because we don't get enough information. We don't know the pricing. We don't know the decision makers. We're not managing the relationship well. So the only reason you're going to lose a client is because of you, because you're not doing enough or the right things to keep it. So you can argue with me if you want, but that's what I think. What's the agenda? Check in with the clients. This is what we're doing. Anything you want to add, let them go off agenda, because that means they're talking. Arrive early. Never, ever, ever, ever get there right on time, because something's going to happen. And you can wait for the client, and they're not going to wait for you. If you make a client wait, you're a dodo bird. Okay? Because that's bad. Because I wouldn't wait for you. If I'm going to wait for you, my job's going to be late. Because the only thing you have is your credibility at this point. Let the prospect speak first. Thanks for having us. What do you expect to get out of the presentation today? Is there anything specific you'd like us to touch on? I'm going to introduce my team in a minute. but I want to hear what you have to say first. How are the other guys that came in before me? Did they? No. Okay. So, I'm really competitive. Okay. You can't ask that. That last thing, don't say that. Edit that out, will you? And all the stuff you said, edit that out. Okay. Introduce the team members. You need to know who's there, what their names are. I know this sounds obvious. You need to be very fluent with who's in the room and why they're there. I brought so-and-so because of this. Okay? Oh, she's at corporate? I can't read it. Oh, she's probably an audit or something. I'm so in trouble. No? Oh, it says staff on there, doesn't it? Oh, okay. It was really nice meeting you all. So don't look for any more webinars or anything with my name on them. You're in charge of putting together the presentation and all the components to it. You're in charge of making sure it's organized and that you've thought through it and that everything's on board, online, however you're doing it, handouts, everything. Your job. And your job's to close the meeting. So this is all about us managing a client relationship and moving the client relationship down the field. And if it makes sense, pick one of those different presentations I put on there and do one of them. Okay. Other thing you want to think about is what's the quality, what's the value of this client for you? This is about time management. I did that session first. What's the lifetime value of this client for you? Are they worth your time and effort to put together some kind of presentation? And the answer is not always yes. If they buy $1,000 a year once a year, is that worth your time? Maybe if they call in and you never have to see them. But you got to be really careful where you spend your time. And I'm all about prepping and spending time and building stuff, but if they don't have a big spend, if they don't buy what you sell, if you're not with the decision maker, you're wasting your time. And if we're making $50,000 a year, we're $25 an hour. And if we're making $100,000 a year, we're $50 an hour. Where are you going to spend your $50 hour? Who are you going to invest that hour in? And that's where we have to decide what's in our best interest. Where do I spend my time? Because we're selling stuff and solutions, but we're really selling our time. And you got to maximize the time with the right people. So the client may not be the one that deserves a presentation. If it's a big RFQ, go for it. If it's $5,000 a year, you got to decide if that's the right kind of business for your center, then do it. But I'm not going to waste 4 hours of my team's time on $5,000 a year. And what if they buy $50,000 a year and you can get 10% of it? That's $5,000 a year. Is that worth it? I don't know. But you're in charge of where you spend your time. So the good thing about this business, the good thing about being in sales, in my opinion, is that we have a lot of control and a lot of choices. How we want to build our business, what we want to look like, how much money we want to make, who we want to call on. And you think about other professions who don't have that choice. That's why I like it, because I can build my own thing, Okay. To do a presentation, you have to have content, delivery, and listeners. You can't do a presentation if those three things are not going together, coinciding, okay? Listeners have to be able to listen to you, but you have to listen back. Listening is a big part of sales. What's the content? Is it relevant to what they want to hear? Is there something in it for them? Is there a value proposition? As my sales assistant over here so clearly said, is there a keyword? Assistant. Is there a value proposition there? Yeah, that is the key word for you. And I want you to know when Sarah sat in here, not a word. Billy, not a word. You're over there. Chatty Cathy. What?
She's better than me, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. She's probably sitting with what's his name?
I'm sorry, I just get so excited.
Ryan. Oh, I know. But what you said was pretty good. Yeah, whatever. And then you have to deliver it, and you have to be thoughtful about how do I want to deliver it. Standing, sitting, tools, no tools, handouts, it's all back to that. All right, we're wrapping up. Objections are going to come. You have to figure out how to resolve the objections. I did a whole webinar on that. I know there's tools online. And the reason we want objections is so... Do you have something you want to say? No. We want to know what the objections are so we can overcome them and we can resolve them and get to the next place. Because objections, you learn things. Well, I've used you before, your prices are high. Oh, I gave you work a year ago with the other rep and you delivered late. Oh, and I'm happy with my vendors. I don't need anybody else. Well, we have a unique, we just installed this thing, let me bring you a sample. So you have to give them some reason to talk to you, a value proposition, if you will. And so don't be afraid of the objection. Again, we could talk about this for an hour. We're not going to, but objections are good because you get information about what's going on in their head. Okay? Oh, look, how funny that I have a slide there. How weird, huh? You know, I just typed that up right now while you were back there getting water. It's so good that you can help me. Anyway, if you read ahead in this handout, you'd see it was there. And what you want to be able to do is figure out how to communicate to this prospect what's in it for them. What is your value proposition to them? I don't care about what you have. What can you do for me? That's what they're thinking, okay? Ask for the next step. Close. Where do I go from now? How do we look? How can I help you? When can we come back? How does it sound? Develop agreement on milestones. We'd like to come on the presentation. Thanks for having us. We really had a good, thank you for your time today. What's our next step? Figure out where you want to go. You're driving the relationship. And if you don't do it yourself, the client does it, and you don't know enough, and you don't know how to navigate, and you don't know what to do next. Because the client's in charge. But we're trying to be nosy, respectfully, to see where we fit and what we should do now. Well, we're really happy with our vendors. We just wanted to bring you in because I heard good things about your company, but we're really not going to use you. Okay, first. Second, how interesting you say that. Who did you hear such good things about? Well, one of my friends uses you guys. I really like it. Well, we do a great job for them. We can do a great job for you, too. It's interesting that you would waste my time today. You can't say that. It's interesting that you gave us a chance today. We'd really like to be, in the mix as a supplier. What would that take? Well, I told you, we've already got 3 vendors. We're not going to use you. Well, I'd like to show you, and then you have to have a new idea. I've got a new solution for you. Let me bring you a case study. So then you have to bring up the snappy value proposition to overcome your competition. Okay? So again, Stephen Covey, big listener. It's all about listening. The more we listen, the more we learn. We can listen by body language. We can listen to words, tone, pace. All that stuff is part of listening. All right? Listening is a huge part of sales. And if you're not a good listener because you're so busy talking, then you won't learn anything. And I can talk over him because I'm not learning anything now, so I'm good. More about Stephen Covey. Effective listening involves a commitment first to understand and then to be understood. And I don't want to overdo the listening, but I can't overdo it enough because it's huge. We're so busy talking about how great we are, we don't listen. And we miss a lot of clues that can help us figure out what we have to do to get revenue. Okay? We have to close. I did that pretty well. Final check. What are your thoughts? Where do we go? Open-ended. Open-ended is what, when, how, why. Where do we go from here? Why do you say that? We're really looking forward to meeting with you. When can we follow up? What's our next step? Open-ended. Okay? Presentations can be many things. It's about how you present yourself and the company and your value proposition many, many times over and over again. It is not a one-off. It's a multiple it's a multiple set of activities that happen over the life of the relationship when you're building it. And it could go on farther. When you're trying to upsell a client and sell them more solutions, you might have to do a presentation then. They're buying 3 things from you and they could buy 7 and you haven't thoroughly vetted them out and you go do a presentation. I didn't even know you did that. How many of your clients have said, I didn't know you did that? Because you never told them. You know all the stuff and they don't know the stuff. You have to go say, oh, we just got this new machine. Oh, you can now do that substrate. I didn't know that. Yeah, because you never told them. So perception. So this bull is up here. So you take information you got all day in the seminar and for my friend Jeff. And well, maybe not what he said, and you use it to sell stuff, to be more successful, to get where your goals accomplished where you want to be. Make the money, have the business you want, kick some what. All right. I'm done. Get out. You're awesome. Yay! Thanks, you guys. All righty, there you go. If you would like my newsletter, you may give me your business card and I will email it to you.